Hey everybody, it's Steve with Sky194 and appreciate you taking the time to visit and check out my video. And we're here at Hungaroring in the USCP server here in ACC. And I just going to show you a few laps, a few highlights. It was an okay race, but I'm in the LEXUS RCF because I wanted to work on a setup for it, but my plans got kind of messed up. So Chips and Dip was wondering about the setup for it for this and Spa. I think it was mainly Spa, but I was just going to go over this one just to double check it anyway. So I was going to do the race and kind of test it, but it was a rain race, so I ended up having to make a rain setup on the fly and do something real quick. And plus, I don't drive the Lexus that often, so it was kind of a rude awakening for me, just trying to figure out getting the setup halfway decent, like really fast, and also learning the car in the wet. So I definitely made some mistakes. It's a clean start. I started third. Miguel in the lead. He just took off like a jackrabbit. Definitely a difference when you got a good driver and somebody that's got their car, dialed in. But I was just really wanting to finish and get up, have a halfway decent finish, but pretty bad start after we get this lap done. It was really just wanting to hang on. But you can't see nothing. I mean, it is just trying to see your brake markers and things like that. I just made a lot of bad mistakes here in the beginning. Really, a lot of them are, you go by curbs and things like that. For some of my brake markers, I couldn't see them. So, I mean, that's my excuse. It's a lame one, but, it's still my fault. It's the way it is. Everybody's got the same problems. So, should just try to back it off a little bit more. But, and of course, Hungaroring is, he's slick anyway, but you get a decent amount of rain on it. It's like an ice rink. I mean, I was just trying to get, like I said, just trying to finish and have a halfway decent race. But I figured, well, these guys are right here, second and third. So, I should be able to fight with them. Maybe I can fight for a podium. So, I mean, I was really wanting to stick with them. Get on the curbing, it was flipping and sliding around. And look at this, you just can't. Really, really hard to judge. But up here, I just went in way too deep. I should have been on the brakes about 2 car lengths back. I got out there in the slick stuff and just looped it. Luckily I didn't hit anybody, or nobody hit me either. So then I basically just had to sit there and wait for the whole field to pass me because I couldn't, I couldn't just pop out there and I'd end up getting hit. So, I mean, of course you have the map so I could see if somebody was coming, so it's kind of the nice thing. I looped it again. So I had to wait again for something to go around. So the time I got everything all done, I was like 14th. So kind of disappointing there. Let's move on. I started catching some guys pretty quick. Some of the back marker guys. Of course, every lap I'm trying to learn, well, I need to brake here. Plus now I can see a little better because I don't have anybody right in front of me. Well, I still made some errors. Just, pushing too hard. Trying to, get back up there. Yeah, see, I looped it here. I thought I saved it, but I didn't. So then the Porsche that I just passed ended up passing me. Right there. So now I gotta try to pass him back over again. Up a couple laps. I'm up to 9th. My best is a 1:59.93, which is okay, but you know it's okay. But you get a little faster than that. But again, just trying to get used to the car and keep it on the track. Up ahead of me. The rain effects in ACC just crazy good. I mean, it's just nuts. Looks so good. Wide. So I'm up to 9th place, trying to get up here to get into 8th, so at least I made up some time. It's basically about the same time as I just ran. I spin it again. I almost won it. Hit too hard on the brakes. Trying to get into turn 1 really hot, so I lost a bunch of time there. We'll skip a couple laps. Got around the Porsche. Now I'm in 8th. Again, Miguel's just taken off. He was pretty far ahead of everybody. No pit stop in this, so there's no pit stop. So basically the tires had to last the whole 45 minutes, unless you wanted to make an unscheduled pit stop. Now I got my best down to 1:59.88. That's just a little bit faster, but still, I mean, we're into a pretty good amount of the race already, so that's still showing it's decent. If I could just try not to be over aggressive and end up making a big mistake. Of course, after this, we'll go after the setup. So I'm going to have a whole bunch of setups. I'm going to have a rain setup. I'm going to have a new dry setup for Hungaroring. And then we're going to go over a new dry setup for Spa, an updated one. So we're going to have a bunch of setups. Of course, all the links will be in the description. Up to 7th. Skip ahead a few laps. Still following the BMW, but he was fast. He was really quick. I got up to him, but then I couldn't stay with him. Made a couple bad errors again. I think I spun again. It's a slow, lazy spin. So lost touch. Didn't lose a position, but I lost touch. And I'm up to 5th place. So I mean, I back up to 5th out of the, basically starting after a couple laps, starting way back, back here to 14th. So made a couple fine little adjustments after the race, and then, you know, when I was testing the setup. So just to make a couple small adjustments to get it maybe a little bit more driver friendly. You know, the back end, kind of calm the back end down a little bit. You can see it's not hitting anything or bottoming out, so it's not, you know, it's not bad. It's a good base range setup for here. You know, definitely, you know, could use a little bit of improvement, but mainly a lot of it's just practice and driving it. You know, I'm sure you know, a few little tweaks here and there would make it a little bit better, but a lot of it's just driving and getting used to it. You know, getting laps. You know, I mean, this is my first time doing this in the rain here in Hungaroring, and there, so my practice is kind of a baptism by fire. So yeah, this is what I looked at. No, I saved it, but I still lost a lot of time. No, I looked at when he was in front of me. But anyway, I ended up going to the last lap. I ended up you know, finishing in this 5th place. That was a 158.70, so that was my fast lap right there. Right there near the end. So it's definitely got more in it, especially when the tires are fresh. But it's just that, you know, this driver is trying, you know, being more, you know, being smoother and not sliding around and all that stuff. Or keeping us sliding to a minimum anyway. Maybe sliding a little bit, but Todd was in this race. He finished 3rd, so that was a good finish by him. And of course, like I said, Miguel won the race going away, so definitely very good. In rain and at night. This place is so dark. To me it is anyway. And then you put rain on top of it and it's just a, you know, all it does is turn. You know, there's not like it's all straightaways. It's just nothing but turns. So, and that was a 159.71, was about a second off, but that was the last lap. So now let's go back to the track so we can go over the wet setup and the dry setup. Hey, and we're back, and I've been doing some testing and moving around, trying some different things. I mean, it was close in the rain setup, but I wanted to just, again, try some more as far as in the dry setup to try to get it as driver friendly but still have performance the best that I can. So here we go. Let's go over the wet setup first since we just got done with the wet race. Let's go over that. I got, of course, 28.5 all the way around. And of course, that was because it was cold. So again, that's very varying depending upon the temperature. So just I'll go off of that. I think it was 15 or something like that. So just keep that in mind. But they were actually pretty good. They were really, really close. So that was actually good for right around 15 degrees. The tow is -0.2, with the camber at -3 and the caster at 9.6. On the rear, the toe is 0.15 with the camber at -2.6. Electronics are 7, 10, and 4. Of course, fuel, I had 62 liters with the number 2 brake pad. Mechanical, I had 5 on the anti-roll bar, 54 on the brake bias, which I did turn down to 53 pretty quick. 12 on the steering ratio to try to slow the steering down just a little bit because of the rain. Springs in the front were 134,000 with a bump stop rate of 600 and a bump stop range of 10. And on the rear, the springs are 136,000 with a bump stop rate of 500 and a bump stop range of 32. Anti-roll bars 2 and the preload on the diff is 90. You can go 80 or 90 either way. They're both pretty good. Shocks, I got 10, 3, 14, and 4 on the front, and on the rear they're 8, 2, 12, and 3. Aero, I got 54 in the front, 77 in the rear with a 15 rear wing, a 2 and a 2 in the brake ducts, and the front aero variation is a -2.6. If the track is flooded, you might want to go up one more click, 1 or 2 clicks in the front, and maybe just 1 or 2 in the rear also. So keep that in mind. Give it a little bit more negativity. Let's see. Let's go. Let's say 2. You had 2.6, -2.6. So you got -3.4. So that's not bad. Even -3.2 if you go 2. So that's what I would try if the track is flooded. Otherwise, I would, this is pretty good because the car still rotates decent. Actually, I turned it down 1 click from the race because it was just turning maybe a little bit too much, rotating too much, and that's why I was looping it a couple times. So basically just 1 click down from the race. So I think that would be better. So that's the setup for the wet. And of course, I got it as a setup with the W next to the sequence number. So let's load the. Let's go ahead and go over the dry. Turn the hood on. I mean, I was trying to have a good pace, but I mean, basically running some low 45s and things like that, 45, 20s, and 30s. So, I tried to push it harder to see what it, I didn't want to completely destroy the tires, but I wanted to see what it could do also. Of course, I had 80 liters. I started off with 80 liters, so it still has 71 right now. That's one of the key corners, and of course this one is too. Let's see how it goes over the bumps. Pretty good. Doesn't hit anything as far as spark. I didn't see any sparks. Gotta be careful here in this corner because, you just want to get on the brake just to settle the car and get off. And the same thing with this corner. You want to get on the brake to settle the car and get off. Don't hold it for any length of time or the car will rotate and you'll lose everything. So just keep that in mind. Got good speed down the straightaway. 154 or so. That's a 144.89. I think that's a solid time with with the race fuel load. So you should be able, with low fuel, in even better conditions than this. You should be able to run a mid 44 or lower, no problem. You know, especially if you had a really good low fuel, you know, like 10 liters or so, and timed it just right. So let's go over the setup. This is the other one. Let me go load the other one up. So I got 24/7 left front, 25/2 left rear, and 26 right front and right rear. This might have to come down a little bit. I don't know. I was trying to get it right where I want it to be, but it basically, you know, kept basically moving around on me. So, but I was trying to get them right around 27.7 is right. 27.6 to 27.8. No, not 20. Yeah, 27.6 to 27.8 is where I was trying to get right in that range. But every time you adjust the car weight-wise, balance-wise, it would change the pressure on the tires. So basically, I kept chasing it because I kept trying to just tweak the balance here and there, and then I kept to change the tire pressures because, you know, accordingly. But the toe is negative 0.1, camber's negative 3.6, the caster's 10 on the front. On the rear, the toe is 0.07 with the camber at negative 3.2, and I've tried all kinds of different things. I tried camber up to negative 3.8, didn't really like it, and it actually went faster with this. And it feels a lot better. I ran a lot more toe, ran a whole bunch of toe, didn't seem to help. It did feel a little bit better, but the times weren't really helping, didn't show it, so I just took it back out. So, you know, the car has enough turn in on its own. Electronics were 3 and 4. Of course, fuel economy, I had 80 liters. 6 on the any roll bar, 56 on the brake bias, which I did turn down to 55. Steering ratio is all the way down. Springs are the same as on the wet package. I got 134,000 on the front and 136,000 on the rear. Because Hungaroring is it's just slick, and there's just not a lot of grip in this track. Never has been. At least to me, there's not. It always feels like you're trying to find grip, and that's why in the wet it's just a mess. Cold and wet is a really bad combination at Hungaroring. But again, you know, basically bump stop rates on the front are 600 with the bump stop range is 5, which is a lot tighter. You know, I tighten it up some so the car doesn't move around on its corners as much, stays flatter. On the rear, the bump stop rate's 500 and the bump stop range is 10. So again, I didn't want to go too crazy on the bump stop rates. I kind of tempted to push them up, but if you do that, when you go over some of these bumps, it's going to really unsettle the car if you go over the little sausages and get aggressive on some of the bump, you know, curbing and things. So I really don't want to get too aggressive with the bump stop rates. So I try to keep them down, and on the bump stop range, I just tighten them up. So it's doesn't, you know, helps it kind of like a secondary where it helps it not move as much. I don't mind it moving a little bit because we got softer springs on there. But at a certain point, I want it to stiffen up pretty fast, which that's the thing about a bump stop rate. These bump stop rates, compared to a spring, a spring is linear. Bump stop rate is very fast. I mean, once it hits, it's pretty much straight up and down. I mean, the scale is really, really fast compared to a spring. So again, you want to be careful of putting too much rate in it, especially if you're going to run the range real tight. So again, that's what I try to do when you're going over big sausages and you know you're going to hit them pretty hard. I try to knock this down the rate some, and even I try to run the range. I did try opening them up, but it just seemed like in some of the places the car was wanting to pitch a little bit too much and get unsettled in certain places, especially that right-hander, that real fast right-hander that you basically right before the chicane. You know, you're going in there pretty fast and you get all that load on the left side. You don't want the car to over rotate and basically get up over on this left side so hard that it just slides. So that's why I wanted to tighten those up. The anti-roll bars 2, preload on the diff is 60, and I tried 60 all the way to 90. So I think 50 to 90. So 60 seems really good, and I gained some time with that. If you run more than that, you start losing some time just slowly. Shocks on the front are 14, 4, 15, and 5. And on the rear, they're 9, 3, 13, and 5. Aero, got 52 on the front, 75 in the rear with a 14 wing a 5 and a 4 in the brake ducts, and the front arrow variation is a negative 1.7. So again, you know, we have more front arrow variation. It's still negative, but I mean, well, a lot more obviously than the rain setup. The ride height, I would not go any lower than this. I did click one less than this to see, and it does clear it, but sometimes it hits hard, and I think you lose time because, you know, you get that noise where you hit something, and I just think I think you lose like a few tenths here and there if you just don't hit it just right. So I just went one more click up, and that way it gives you a little bit more wiggle room as far as running over the sausages and things like that. Of course, you know, I got a good amount of brake bias compared to other setups into this, and of course you can go down to 55. So this thing is really, really good on the brakes. You just, again, try to keep the braking straight. Very little trail braking. You know, the LEXUS is not real big with that. I mean, you can do a little bit of trail, even with all that wing. I mean, just a little bit of trail braking is okay. Just practice with it, but mainly straight. You know, do 90% of your braking straight, and just maybe trail a teeny bit until you get a hang of it, and it'll be perfect. But again, it should be really, really solid. And of course, you know, for a race setup. But let's go over the fuel load test. You got 52 in the front, 75 in the rear. So let's go. I got 80 liters. So now I only got 3. So we went up to 53 and 77. So again, you go up 1 in the front and 2 in the rear, and you basically gain a little bit of weight towards the front when you got low fuel, which is okay because you'll probably need it because the front tires will need some more help to rotate, you know, turn without understeering. So that's not a bad thing, but I just wanted to show you it does go up 1 in the front and 2 up in the rear when you're down low on fuel. So pretty good distribution. So again, okay, well, again, of course, I'll have all these links in the description. So now let's switch tracks and run over to Spa, and we'll go over that. And I'm done doing some laps. I did probably 20-something laps here at Spa. Kind of floating around as far as the setup. You know, more wing, less wing. Just trying a bunch of different stuff. You know, more diff, less diff, all that kind of good stuff. So here we go. Just going to make a lap. Jump in the car. Made a few adjustments just to go through that chicane a little better, and through Rouge a little bit better. Small adjustments, but little things like that just give it a little bit more help. It still goes through there okay, but it actually goes through there a little bit better. Actually better than this. But you can see, going through here, I'm pinned. But I wanted it to do even better, so like I said, I made a small adjustment, and I think it goes through there even better than that. Of course, I had 80 liters, so, you know, race fuel load. Dip. That was, that's what he calls himself. That's what he was saying. He was having problems going to Rouge, and then up here, that fast left, you get a hold of wide open up here. So we'll see how that goes up here. I'm pinned all the way. Main thing is you get turning just a little early. I'm not turning the wheel that chill out. But I wasn't real happy through here, the chicane. I just wanted it to be a little freer through there. It just feels a little skatey. So, and then of course that, that's like a Rouge. Rouge, you change directions like that, and so that was a 219.72. So that's not real bad for that much fuel. I'm sure with less fuel and better conditions, you can run a lot quicker. And somebody's probably a little bit better than me in the Lexus. Like I said, I don't drive this car that much, although I've driven it a bunch tonight between the race and everything. But it goes up a Rouge fine. And a mile an hour, if is like 163 to 164, so it has really good mile an hour, real good speed, especially for not drafting. And boy, I think no wonder I've raced with the Lexus before, against it, and I mean, no wonder the thing just blows my doors off going down that straightaway, especially in the draft. So let's go over the setup. Got 25.4 on the front, and 25.5 left rear, and 25.7 right rear. The toe is negative 0.1 on the front, and I've tried all the way up to negative 0.2. So it just puts more heat in the tires. So I didn't really see any advantage. Maybe a little bit in some corners, but again, you're just trying to. It's a balance. I mean, you got to have give and take. You don't want it. It feels better in some corners, but then it hurts in other places. So I just took it out because, especially the front tires. The thing with the Lexus, and ever since the update, the front tires, especially on the front engine cars, wear faster than the rear. And I'm trying everything I can to shorten that up, and I'll give you some ideas to do that even more, but it's at a cost. The camber is at negative 3.4, and the caster is 10. On the rear, the toe is 0.08 with the camber at negative 3.1. And I tried to camber up higher than that, but it really didn't gain anything, and so it just didn't seem to help. So I basically was trying to go for tire wear because, like I said, the front tires seem to wear the worst. Electronics are 3 and 4, and of course the tires I had 80 liters, and it was some minor graining, but about the normal stuff, nothing out of the ordinary, no blistering, nothing like that. Any roll bar 6. Brake bias. Okay, this is one thing I want to talk about. Brake bias I got at 59 because, the rear end of the Lexus does not have a problem rotating most of the time. So you don't really need a lot of brake bias to help it rotate. So if you do, you're going to have to run a lot of downforce. I already got a lot, but I mean, you're going to have to be almost near max. Or you're going to have to lower the ride height. But that comes at a cost because you lower the rear ride height and you're going to be going up a Rouge. You're going to be sparking real hard. So, I mean, I don't, you're trying to find where you can go up a Rouge, fine, and I got the ride height in the rear up pretty high, but you just go in there so hard that, a little bit of sparks is okay, but, I don't want it unsettling the car and end up wrecking through there. So it's a real fine line through there. So basically I go through 58 to 59 is fine in the brake bias. Now, if you want to get the tires front to rear more even, the wear even or close to even, you got to have this down around 55 or 56 to really get the rear tires working harder to wear them. And even then, they're still not wearing as fast as the fronts, but they're close. They're close. But to do that, you really got to change the balance of the car, and I can tell you how to do that if you want to. Steering ratio is all the way down. Springs in the front are 173,000. That's one click higher than it was on the other setup. The reason I'm doing that is I ran the same spring package as before, and it sounded like it was bottoming out going through a Rouge, and that was messing some time up. So, and it unsettles the car. So basically, I just one click all the way around, and it seems to help from doing that. So the balance is still, the same. It's just it keeps it from basically unloading the car and bottoming out going through a Rouge. So I like that, and it seems to work really well. Bump stop rate's 800. Bump stop range is 5 on the front. On the rear, the springs are 154,000, and like I said, they're one click up from the other setup. Bump stop rate is 600. Bump stop range is 20. Again, I've tried some different stuff with that, and it seems this to be about the best from subtle. The car still moves a little bit. You can see it on the brakes. It goes down a little and things like that. You can see it move a little bit, which is okay, but you don't want it moving a lot. So I don't see that. So that's good. Anti-roll bar is 3, and the preload on the diff is 60. The preload on the diff on the old one is 40. And I actually run up to 60 just to give it a little bit more, posi traction type thing coming off the corners, so you're not getting one wheel to spin. I actually even tried 80 and 90 and tried that, but I just can't get it to work right, especially after the tires start wearing. It just doesn't want to. It wants to start sliding more and things like that. So 60s are pretty good. You could probably go to 70 if you like it, but I wouldn't go too much higher than that without changing some other stuff. Shocks on the front are 14, 4, 18, and 6. And on the rear, they're 10, 4, 16, and 5. And I double-checked it with Motec, and it looks really good. Aero got 52 in the front, 78 in the rear with a 12 rear wing, and a 3 and a 2 in the brake ducts. And the front aero variation is a negative 0.4. So again, I've lowered this down compared to the other setup. This is down a few clicks, so you got some more weight up on the front of the car to help it, help it turn. So that should help it going through a rouge and help it through that fast left-hander on the back part of the circuit. And of course, you still got the ride height up high enough. So I still got the ride height pretty high because I added the rear wing. I think the rear wing was only 10 before, now it's 12. But again, you still gotten like 164 miles an hour down the back, the front straightaway. That's really good. In my book, that's right near the top of the charts as far as compared to the Ferrari, AMG, whatever. So that's still right there, and it gives you some grip to fight and be able to battle it out. Now, like I said, to me, the Lexus if you need to brake late, you just got to be really careful, brake straight. Just like at Hungaroring, you got to brake straight and those kinds of things. Same kind of rules apply. You're better off to brake and let it go and let it carry the speed through the corner faster because that's where it shines. It'll go through the corners really good, carry some good corner speed, and all those kinds of things. And that's where it gains the time. Trying to late brake and drive it into the corner is not, it don't work. It just doesn't want to work that way. It basically wants to hit the brakes. I'm not saying that to be real early, but just not like a late brake and, trail braking and going in the corner all, that's not the Lexus. Every time I try to do that, it doesn't work. So basically this way is the better way, and you just carry the corner speed through it and, and off the corner and then you're, use the motor for that, great motor for down the straightaway. But you don't have to brake early, so don't get me wrong. You don't have to brake early. You just don't want to brake real late, unless you're making a really big pass or you're really low on fuel or whatever. Of course, like I said, I got 80 liters. So, I mean, that's a decent amount of fuel. So, again, I sure hope it works good for you. It sure rotates fine. I showed you through Eau Rouge and through these other places. If you wanted to rotate some more, basically, I would not lower the front. Don't lower the front because it's going to hit. I tried it one click lower, and it'll hit. I would not go any lower in the front. So if you wanted to rotate, just take one click out, and you can see it went from negative 0.4 to positive 0.1. So if you want that, that's all you got to do. If you want the car to rotate some more, that's fine. If you like the wing and you want it to rotate some more, you can just go one more click, and that's a smaller difference. It's only went up 0.2. So you can try that. I mean, all the setups I've seen with the Lexus, it's got a lot of rear ride height. And, to be honest with you, I even watched it at Daytona at the Rolex last week. I saw it in the pits. not personally, but on TV. And I noticed the rear end was way up in the air, even at Daytona. I was wondering, it looked kind of weird because the back end of the car was, had this way up in the air, jacked up kind of look to it. And I was like, wow, that looks kind of weird. He's really jacked up. But, like it's really true to form because it is in this too. I mean, it seems like it's got to be jacked up a little bit to get the ride height, to get the balance right. So it makes sense. But I sure hope it works better for you. And I am working on a couple people requested setups for an Audi for Oulton Park and for the Lamborghini at Silverstone. And I got both of them they're actually really pretty close. So I'm hoping to have them done here really soon and be out this week or by the weekend. And so again, that's what I'm really trying to get these things done in between all the other stuff and taking care of my wife. So I hope you all enjoy it. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It really would help the channel, and share. I appreciate any of that kind of support, and that's really important. And it's really, I really thank everybody for doing that because it really, helps with all that YouTube stuff and helps grow the channel and, sharing it and all that. And of course, I'll have a link for all these setups in the description, and I have a PayPal link if you want to help support the channel that way. And thank you for everybody that has. And I sure hope you come back and visit again really soon. Y'all take care. See ya.